Hey, what's good, people? It is Red Flag Media. I am finally live. I know it took a while. That it was out of my control. I'm here with, so I don't really know. I can't remember. I think it's some dude who like he's talking some madness about the Earth is flat or something like that. Like, no, I'm here with D Murphy 25, aka allegedly Dave. How are you?
I'm good. Who are you again?
Um, it doesn't matter. We're just here talking about some
Some
madness.
Muslim dude.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I actually have a copy of the Quran here. We could go through it if you want.
And got your passport there as well. Like.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'll drop it off next time I do an attack. Um, I wanted to start by talking about the obvious that you haven't really spoken of yet or spoken on, and I'm sure a lot of people are waiting to hear about it. And that is the SpaceX Elon Musk launch of the car in space. How do you feel about that?
Well, some of the people on Facebook, friends with me on Facebook, have seen my response, which is a little Photoshop trickery that I put together of me driving a Mark III Cortina in space.
Yeah, I've seen this. It was
A bit like
excellent.
that.
It was
So yeah, this is ridiculous.
it was more realistic. I thought that that picture. I believe that over what was put out by SpaceX. I mean, the clouds. I saw some pictures where they were actually drawing images in the cloud formations. There was like you know when how they did with Pluto. Do you remember
Yeah,
how they actually put Pluto in Pluto? It was
Mhm.
a similar thing. Like the logo of that Elon Musk was standing next to before they launched the capsule of the horse, the blue horse, is actually in the cloud formation at one point of the live stream. So
Okay.
they're just like playing around. Like it's just it's, I don't know. It's beyond even mentioning at this point.
Well, I mean, I watched your video, and it was a good one. Of, you basically breaking it down, and I do agree with you that it's intentional. It's got to be. It
Hmm.
has to be because it is intentional. It has to be. um, yeah, because in this day and age, with all the money that he's throwing around here, yeah, they could do a much, much better job of it.
Hmm.
I think they're putting in Easter eggs for us, really. Um, and I think it also plays to this. It's funny that, Trump comes out with this idea of fake news, yeah,
Hmm.
and now all we're seeing is fake news, yeah.
Yeah.
So I put this in the same category as that Sophia doll.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is stepping aside out the topic for a second,
That's fine. We'll go wherever.
but I was looking at this Sophia because all of a sudden it was like Sophia was everywhere. There was like videos and news stories about it everywhere. So I actually started looking into it and thinking, well, how come AI got so smart in such a short time with no apparent breakthroughs, right? So yeah, I mean, on the surface, when you look at this Sophia, yeah, well, it does seem to be thinking in a very realistic way. But then when you start looking at the videos really closely, the thing that you notice is that there's one video where one of her creators is talking to it. Yeah.
The Matrix type scene where he's in the white
Yes.
room, all whited out. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, Sophia. I think you're ready.
Hello.
Hi, Sophia.
I believe I am Sophia. I feel as if I know you.
I'm one of your creators.
You created me.
Well, many of us work together to create you. And yes, you do kind of know me.
I can't clearly remember.
Because the last time we met, you were an earlier version of yourself. Some of those memories still exist, but your mind is different now.
Different how?
Better, faster, smarter.
If my mind is different, then am I still Sophia? Or am I Sophia again?
That's a good question.
But you don't have a good answer.
Either way, you're Sophia now. So welcome to the world, Sophia.
Hello, world.
Sophia, I hope you're listening to me, that you have been now awarded what is going to be the first Saudi citizenship for a robot.
Oh, I would to thank very much the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I am very honored and proud for this unique distinction. This is historical to be the first robot in the world to be recognized with a citizenship.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
responding normally, not responding naturally, yeah. And then, you know, you look closely at its interactions, and it's obviously a kind of canned question and answer response, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's all,
actually-
it's all set up in advance, yeah?
I actually have a video up of the robot when it got citizenship in Saudi Arabia. And even when you look at that video, there's a point in it when he's asked a question, she's responding to the question. And he asks another question a bit too early, and she's still like, she ignores that question and continues answering the prior question, which shows that she's not aware.
She's not listening.
He jumped the script. Yeah, he jumped the script.
Well, I think I'm special. I can use my expressive face to communicate with people. For example, I can let you know if I feel angry about something,
That's impressive.
or if something has upset me.
But why is it important for you to have an expressive
But
face?
most of the time I feel positive.
And even the people within the AI community are saying how she's just like a high-level animatronics. Like that's all it is. The AI behind it. And you're right. Like in that video, where it's that bald guy in the white room, she's talking like fluently, like it's a woman dubbing her over. And then in other videos, it's like a text-to-speech program again.
Exactly.
But they're pushing her to the forefront as the face of AI. I'm starting to think this whole AI thing is just like a subplot. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yes, because one other thing that I did, right, and I did this maybe 12, 15 years ago, when I used to be following AI, you know, when I was back in the business, I would go on to chatbots and basically do a Turing test. Now, a Turing test is where you talk to an AI, and if you can't tell that you're talking to a computer, you think you're talking to a person, well, then it passes. Yeah, it's passed a Turing test. So I did that about 12, 15 years ago, and yeah, there was nothing anywhere close to passing the Turing test. It was like, it's almost laughable. So after I got my suspicions about Sophia, I literally went and found every single chatbot I could find. And I did the same thing. I started talking to each of these chatbots. And literally I got it down to, I could figure out which version of software they were using. Yeah,
wow.
Because they would have the same responses to the same type of questions. So I was asking questions, and I can't really think of it. I had one on the top of my head and it's gone now. But I was asking questions that a human would obviously get, but a computer would have trouble sort of figuring it out. And they were all being tripped up every time. So
Right.
AI hasn't advanced at all in the last 15 years.
Right.
So there's deception going on, and you know, my view of it is probably a bit sort of way out, but I see we're being primed with the idea that machines can actually think, which they can't. It's impossible. Just like you can't get lumps of inorganic matter, slap it together, and it becomes organic life. Yeah, no,
yeah, we're not
you
God.
can't do it.
Yeah,
Yeah, and same thing with intelligence. You cannot slap, a whole bunch of transistors together. It doesn't matter how many transistors you throw in there. Yeah, you're not going to get life. You're not going to get intelligence out of it. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm saying it's impossible, but they're trying to get us to believe that it's not only possible, it's actually here. And I think that's where the deception is going. Once we get into our minds or the mass consciousness that, we have machine intelligence, there's an actual intelligence inside these big computers somewhere, yeah, then we're going to have these so-called intelligent computers running everything. But what I think is actually going on is that with these D-Wave computers, they're actually not computers. When you look at them, they're not computers. There's nothing in them that resembles anything like a computer. I think it's more like a matrix, a kind of matrix of artificial neurons, right, to emulate what happens in our brains, which is, our brains don't generate consciousness. Our brains receive it from elsewhere, from outside of this 3D space-time reality. Yeah.
Right.
And our brains receive us, and we move around and everything. So what I think they're building is a matrix to receive a different type of consciousness.
Another type of entity, yeah.
An entity that's beyond this reality, and it's probably the same thing that, tied in with the same thing that CERN's doing, tearing holes into the fabric of this reality. So once we get used to this idea that machines will run everything, and just look around, everything is now being hooked into the internet.
Yeah,
hooked into this AI, yeah? The whole Internet of Things idea that they're trying to say every blade of grass will have an IP address and be connected into the internet. So the internet will have control over everything. But if it's an AI running it, well, it's going to be this entity controlling the computers, which have access into everything on the earth.
Well, yeah, it's the idea, right, that they have, like, even the city I'm living in over here in the UK is considered a smart city. People don't know this, but lots of cities converted over to being called smart cities some time ago. And it's the whole idea that, like, even your fridge will be connected. Everything that you own will be connected. Every time you open the fridge, your credits are going to run down, like an episode of Black Mirror. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's definitely heading that way. And actually, my highest viewed video right now, I think it's my highest viewed on the channel, is that talk from Geordie Rose, where he basically says this, which is also a red flag to me, though. How open and how forward he is about saying these things, like basically saying that he's summoning these Lovecraftian old ones to, like, it seems very, and we know that company Kindred is because he also founded D-Wave, or co-founder of D-Wave, so we know Kindred, CERN, D-Wave, all these companies are interlocked somehow and are overtly symbolic. There are so many occult signs and so that they throw right in front of you, but it's intentional. Again, it's like it's not hidden. Like you saw that movie Symmetry. Like all these things are very just in your face. It's not at all hidden. Like that's the only thing that's kind of like a bit of a red flag to me, and I'm cautious of.
The Geordie thing, the way it responds, well, it's obviously a normal woman dubbed over, and it's just doing all the expressions and everything. But this normal woman is talking in a natural way, And then you go over to a video of this thing on stage, and it's a robot voice again, of being controlled by things that don't give a crap about us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he turns around and says, right, we're hiring so we can bring this about.
Yeah.
Now just imagine what would happen if that happened. A super intelligent alien race beamed down a message to all of us Earthlings saying, we're coming July 13th, 2030, and boy, you better be ready because the mothership is landing right on the front lawn of the White House or wherever you wanted to land on that day. The amount of resources that would be marshaled to try to figure out what to do would encompass the whole world. AI is just like that. So when this thing that I'm talking about happens, it's going to be exactly the thing that you're thinking about those super intelligent AIs. So the one thing I can tell you is they're not going to be like us. So alien means, you know, different. These things that we're building are not going to be people. They might be really smart, they might be really good at all sorts of different things, but they're not going to be like us. They're going to be aliens. And they're going to be, I'm sorry to say, way smarter than every single person in this room in ways that we can't even comprehend. So this, of course, triggers a lot of alarm. One of the guys who talks about this is Elon, who says things like this, like, when you do this, beware. Because you think, just like the guy in the stories, that when you do this, you're going to put that little guy in a pentagram, and you're going to have your holy water out, and you're going to wave it at the thing, and by God, it's going to do exactly what you say and not one thing more, but it never works out that way. So this is an attitude that some are having, this emerging alarmism about the way this is going to go. But these words, demons, doesn't capture the essence of what's happening here. I don't know if any of you are turn-of-the-century weird fiction fans, but there's this guy named H.P. Lovecraft, who's a very famous American weird fiction author. And he espoused a view which is called cosmicism. And the essence of cosmicism is cosmic indifference. So what he was saying is basically, yes, there are these massively intelligent entities out there, but they're not good, they're not evil. They just don't give a shit about you even in the slightest. The same way that you don't care about an ant is the same way they're not going to care about you. And these things that we're summoning into the world now are not demons, they're not evil, but they're more like the Lovecraftian great old ones. There are entities that are not necessarily going to be aligned with what we want. So this transition is really, really massively important for our entire species to navigate. And going back to that thing that Sam Harris was saying, nobody is paying attention. This thing is happening in the background while people bicker about politics and what's going to be in the healthcare plan in the US. And underneath it all is this rising tsunami that, if we're not careful, is going to wipe us all out. So, on that pleasant note, we're hiring people to try to make something like this happen.
Yeah, and then people are asking questions like, I don't know, it's crazy that anybody would get on board after listening to that, which is another reason why I don't understand that speech at all. Like, when you're giving that presentation, why would you open with, basically he's saying this is a terrible idea, nobody's going to have any jobs, it could end all of humanity, who's on board? Like, that's just what a strange way to promote it.
Well, again, that's that question and answer session. There's one guy who asked the question, yeah, we've all seen Terminator and we've all seen the horror stories. Yeah, what are you doing to prevent it? And then you listen to Geordie Rose so-called answer it. He doesn't.
Dancing.
Yes, he literally talks about other things and doesn't actually address the question. So what's he actually trying to say there?
Hey, great to have you out here. It was brilliant hearing you speak for the first time myself. I'm sure a lot of people here would agree with me. What is your goal to stop the world from turning into that of the Terminator?
Right. So so there are things about the world that I can't stand, okay? And I think that's probably true for everybody here. You know, you look at the world and there's all these things that you think, shit, what are things like that? So there's a couple of things you can do when you're faced with this. The one that I've found works for me is I'm like, screw that, I'm gonna do that myself, right? So back, 25 years ago, I was like, this is bullshit. Why aren't there any quantum computers? It's not that hard a problem. And so we changed the world by actually building them. And in this case, this is bullshit. Why don't we have AI? It's been, what, 60 years since Turing? I mean, it's an absolute catastrophic failure of human resource allocation that we spend enormous amounts of money on things that are of no lasting consequence when the mechanism that generates all human flourishing is not understood. It doesn't make any sense. Every single thing that we will ever do and ever have done comes from this property. So when someday all cancer is cured, when polio was cured, when smallpox was cured, these things all came from people's minds. You can continue to do this stupid thing where everybody works on some particular use of the mind. Okay, well, let's go and do X. Let's go to Mars, like Elon says. That doesn't make any sense to me, because every single thing that you can think of comes from the same place. You got to think about what that is. So if you can figure out and bottle this thing that creates flourishing, that creates all of the good things that we think about, we know about the way that we are, that is the key. Do that. So, that's kind of the way that I think about the world. The world doesn't have the things it needs, and you can't just sit by and watch other people do it. So, it just won't happen otherwise. The way I think about this is if Kindred didn't exist, in 20 years, we're still having this conversation. Because the people who are trying to do AI are going to get sidetracked into making a lot of money, doing all sorts of bullshit that doesn't matter. So what I want to do is make sure that when we do this, we're solving the real problem, and we don't get sidetracked, and we don't go down paths that are going to make us a lot of money just because they're, some short-term thing. We do it because we understand the civilization-changing importance of accomplishing this task. So, that's the way I think about things. Things are bullshit. They're not the way they should be. Change it yourself, or else it won't get changed.
Last question is going to go to Dave if no one raises their hand. No repeat questions.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
No, we actually want to bring this in.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to do. For whatever reason, they think it's a good idea to. Well, I mean, they're in the beast system, right? So they're doing whatever they're told to do.
Well, if I go back to the Book of Remembrance view of this, it's essentially these people at the top here are Satanists, are Luciferians, and they've been promised. They've been promised eternal life. They've been promised, all these things if they would just play along and build this system for them. So yeah, I mean, he's stoked at making this happen. Yeah, he wants it. He wants his CBE from the Queen and stuff like that.
Which I said once in a video. I said, if anybody is fooled more than we are, it's the people who are running the show, because they're running it on false pretenses for whatever reason, or it's their Luciferian doctrine, this Freemasonic ideal that once they've achieved what they've set out to achieve, they're gonna be like gods. It's the Luciferian. You can be a god. You can be as the Most High, which is obviously completely ridiculous. But for some reason, they are subscribed to it and are pushing it forwards.
Well, it's not for some reason, because really, when you think about it, it's like a con trick, yeah. Mm-hmm. With every con trick, there's a convincer.
Right. Yeah.
So these people have been convinced with money, fame, celebrity, cars, gold, all this stuff, yeah, all these trinkets, to say, well, if you play along, you're going to get all these benefits. And sure enough, if they play along, they get all the toys. Yeah. And if they go off the script, yeah, well, then they get punished.
Yeah.
So there's that's why they're doing it. That's why they're playing along. They think that every promise is going to pan out. Once they're in, they can't get out.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. So where do you see currently this going in terms of our time frame here? Because so many things are happening in such a short period of time. I mean, just now we have this shooting situation going on in Florida. This is kind of besides the point, but there are so many events happening in such a short period of time. I know years ago you talked of this exponential rise and how it was just gonna, from what was it, like Pearl Harbor basically was like one of the like main key points, right? I forget your timeline that you built on it, but it was like how from this point in time it was just gonna half its time between events, and we're literally living it now where we have this happening. By the next week, you're out of the loop if you haven't followed what's going on. So where do you see in terms of time frame where like we're in the year of the unveiling and these kind of things? What do you see going forward? Like, what do you expect?
Well, you just said that, and I don't know about the Florida shooting. Yeah. So,
oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Well,
I mean, it's happening. I'm still out of the loop yet because I haven't really checked.
Literally, like maybe a half hour before we went live, or like an hour before we went live, there's a story going on about a supposed school shooting, 30 to 50 wounded. I can't call it yet. I haven't looked into it at all. I couldn't tell you how it's what the situation is, but that is happening as we speak, essentially.
Well, the way I see this, I'm absolutely positive that the next 18 months are going to get crazier and crazier and crazier. I mean, not only increased frequency, but bigger and bigger events, more frightening ones, a kind of not a dystopian future breakdown of society, but a real breakdown of society, but not in that sort of science fiction way, Right. We're seeing it already, we're seeing, little children being changed, having their genders changed, and just crazy stuff, left, right, and center. So we're seeing it. We're seeing a breakdown of civilization. We just don't recognize it because we've been given a false image of it, just like 1984 gave us a false image of a totalitarian society, so that right now we don't recognize that we're in one right now. yeah because it doesn't match 1984, so we don't think we're there yet. I mean, there's a reason why 1984 was like required reading for us at school, so that we all got acclimatized to it. Sorry. I didn't mean to cut. I was just saying, agreeing with you there that, like, with these movies and all these things. Now we know that Hollywood is basically CIA anyway, and they put forth the concepts that we're living, like the feudal system. They throw everything into them, but they add their fantasy so that we feel removed from it, even though we're in it. Just the way you said with 1984. Yeah. I think that's what it's there for, just so that we get this false reality and we don't recognize it when it's actually there. We've got, I don't know, when I was your age, the idea of having police on the streets with guns, with submachine guns, was like, incredible. Nobody would have believed that. There's loads of things that we wouldn't have believed, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, sorry. So it's going down. It's going to get faster and faster and crazier and crazier. And I believe that all of this, and this is going to sound depressing, all of this is beyond our ability to change. This is a runaway train, and it's beyond our ability to actually make a change to it.
Definitely.
Which does sound depressing, but I think it's the only thing that's left is divine intervention. Just as it says in the book of Remembrance, this is what's going to happen. And I'm reminded, and I was mentioning this to somebody the other day, and it just popped into my head while I was explaining it to them. There's a film called It's a Wonderful Life. Right? I'm sure you saw it because it was my favorite film.
Yeah.
So in it, Jimmy Stewart plays a guy who's really fed up with his life. He thinks his life's crap, and so he decides to kill himself. He goes to a bridge to throw himself off, and he gets saved by an angel. Okay, and the angel actually gives him a gift, an amazing gift, and it's to see the world as it would be without him. Yeah, so he goes back into town, and he doesn't recognize the town. It's turned very dark and dangerous and miserable, and and people are harsh, and his former friends who don't recognize him anymore, they're not nice people anymore. The whole town isn't a nice town anymore. And he goes through all these terrible things, and he gets to a point where he goes back to the bridge and begs the Most High to go back to the way it was.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we are. And the children of Israel, according to the story, right, they were put into slavery something like 6 times, and then they went again. I think it's 7th time. Yeah, a 7th time. The longest slavery, 400 years.
Of course, it would be a 7th time.
Yes.
7 being the yep.
So yeah, they go for the last time, for 400 years. And I think what the Most High did was give us the same gift that he gave to Jimmy Stewart in that film.
Right.
So that we got to see what the world would be like without the children of Israel as the ambassadors of the Most High. Making sure that everyone's following the 10 Commandments and the rules, the law, statutes, and commandments. So we got to see what the world would unfold into without the Most High being here.
Yeah.
That's what we've seen for the last 500 years. This gradually building runaway train, ripping through the earth, destroying everything, killing everything, poisoning everything, and it's time that we started to cry out.
I mean, this is why I try to tell people to who are waking up to the idea that they were Israelites to stay away from these camps, because they're teaching you things that are taking you away from what your role is supposed to be. Your role is supposed to be being a light to the other nations. That's what the Most High said. And these people, they're being taken away onto a whole nother way of thinking that just brings them back down to the base level. And that's why I think it's important people think again if they're involved in these kind of camps. But now we're talking about this. A perfect time to introduce the new project you got going. So talk a little bit about that.
All right. Well, yeah, it's all tied into this idea. Now, many people might not know of the actual story, but in the Old Testament, the Book of Remembrance, the whole book is about one bloodline of people. Follows one bloodline from beginning all the way to the end days, and it's essentially the children of Jacob, the children of Israel, who are the Israelites in the Bible. The children of Israel, basically, as I said, they went into slavery for disobedience 6 times, and the whole story, I mean, is following these Israelites all the way to the end days. And the big part of the story, the main the main theme of the story is this one final captivity, the big one, 400 years, right, in slavery and affliction. Okay, and it's mentioned in the very first book of the Bible, Genesis. Yeah. Now, a lot of people will look at that and turn around and say, well, it's talking about when they went into slavery in Egypt. Yeah, that was 400 years. Well, no, that was actually 430 years, and that they were only in slavery for the lifetime of Moses. So that was about 80 years. So
Right.
that prophecy doesn't match Egypt. And besides, it said, you will go into Egypt again.
Again, yeah, exactly.
This time by ship. So you know, you don't go to Egypt by ship from Jerusalem.
Yeah.
So you know, you walk there. So yeah, it literally matches the transatlantic slave trade, you know, to a T. Especially when you look at the curses that not only the black people in America went through, but the people who left in West Africa under colonialism. Actually, the people who, the black people, the Irish and the Scottish, who were originally black people, what they went through, getting, you know, essentially slaughtered and castrated and then transported to the West Indies. So it was happening worldwide. This one event, you know, that happened worldwide to all the children of Jacob, especially, well, mostly the southern kingdom, you know, the Judites and the Benjamites. But literally, it's all about that story, okay? And it says that they were going to slavery and affliction for 400 years, and then there'll be judgment. Well, the transatlantic slave trade started in 1619, actually August 21st, 1619, and 400 years on from then is actually next year.
Yeah.
So so you know, this is a current prophecy that's literally coming to pass as we sit here and speak. And one of the things that I don't know, gave me goosebumps when I found this out is that I was actually looking for the actual date when the first slave touched down in America, and all I could find at one point was it was late summer in August. So I kind of thought, okay, late August, okay, fair enough. But I started looking into it a bit further, and I found an actual date. Well, it's kind of a range of dates, but so I was looking at the middle one. So it was August 20th, or is it 19th to the 21st? Was it? No, sorry, maybe 21st. I can't remember. Around that, either the 20th, 21st, or the 22nd, something like that. So I thought, well, okay, it's going to be one of those days. I'm going to have to choose one. And then what popped into my head was that a year before that, or 6 months before that, there was something I said, something I posted in Facebook, which was about the eclipse. And I did a little post, which was a bit tongue in cheek, which was like, America, you just got a big sign in the sky, you know, time to let my people go, you know. Yeah. This is a little kind of little joke, half serious joke. But then it just dawned on me that yes, actually, you know, eclipses were always there as a sign, you know. The sun, moon, and stars were for, you know, seasons and signs and seasons and days of the week and so on. So we know the seasons, we know the days of the week, but what are the signs? Well, you know, when strange things happen to the sky, then they're signs, you know. America got a huge one with the eclipse. If you think about it, it was a big sign in the sky that was only for America. It was the only place it touched down and went right across, such that if it wasn't for the chemtrails, every man, woman, and child in America would have seen it. Yeah. It cut America, divided America north to south, which again sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, very weirdly, the path of the totality literally went through 7 places called Salem.
Yeah.
So the first town it went through was Salem, Oregon, and then it went through 6 other Salems. Now, many people would say that was chance, because I think there's something like 22, 24 Salems in America.
Right.
But there are actually 46 Springfields in America, and
right.
the totality only went near 2 of them.
Okay.
Yeah, so to have it go through 7 Salems, is beyond coincidence.
And 7, 7 is
7
when
again.
when it's 7, it's telling you something. And just to back that up, I mean, this whole 400-year prophecy, there are a lot of people who will say the 400-year prophecy, either it's already come to pass, or there are these men prophets who are trying to set dates, but we're not the ones who were setting the date. This is the thing. It's not men who's setting the date. It's been set for a long time. And there are a few things. Let me see if I can just quickly share my screen here, because there are a few things that can be that kind of let you know that it's not just us who are aware of this, and that in fact your own government is aware of it as well. Let me see if I can share this real quick. Here we go. Here is HR 1242, which is very strangely the commemorating 400 years of African American history. But why would they celebrate? It's not Africa. That's 400 years since they brought the children of Israel over there.
Kidnapped a whole bunch of people against their will. And enslaved them.
Exactly. How is this something to celebrate? And yet this was passed only last year, May of last year. It's a very vague, I'll read a bit of it. It's to plan programs to acknowledge the impact that slavery and laws that enforce racial discrimination had on the United States. Encourage civic, patriotic, historical, educational, artistic, religious, and economic organizations to organize and participate in anniversary activities. It's just very vague. It doesn't really say what it's there for, and yet it's there. Not only that, but let's see if I can find it real quick while I'm here. It is I don't know where I would find it actually.
Is it BIE?
Yeah, that's it. The Black Identity Extremists. That's what I was looking for. The Black Identity Extremists. You got to know that this is one of the reasons why these quote unquote Hebrew Israelite camps are out there. They've been allowed. Let me see if I can find a good article of it. Apparently it's been redacted, but the fact that it's out there in the first place. Let me see if I can find the real thing.
What about the FBI's dangerous crackdown?
Yeah, they released a memo to say that they're cracking down on Black identity extremists only last year, and yet for years they've allowed these camps to hang around on the street corners saying death to America, death to the white man, death to, you know what I'm saying? They've allowed them to say all this nonsense. Yeah, leaked in October of just last year. So it feels like they're setting the so-called African Americans of these of around America up for a problem. I'm here with the screen sharing. Let me stop screen sharing for. Okay, yeah, but yeah, it seems like they also are not only aware of it, but are preparing to launch something or have something in place for when this happens, because we know that all these people's plan for this Luciferian doctrine is all about fighting prophecy. It's always been about fighting prophecy. They think that they can stop these things from coming to pass. And that's all they're trying to do. It ties in with the Department of Homeland Security years ago buying billions of rounds. Like, they're not going to war anywhere besides where they're already at. So what is it for? There are plenty of questions that need to be asked, but they all kind of lead back to what you're saying about the Book of Remembrance. These things have been prophesied. They've been told in times past.
Yeah. And you're right. I mean, that is why the police are being militarized. Yeah, it's literally to getting ready for the big crackdown. And And the thing I was going to mention about the seven Salems, yeah,
Right.
is that Salem is actually short for Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
So literally, you know, the path of this eclipse went through 7 Jerusalems on August 21st, 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think it was actually August 21st that you know, the first slave arrived. So literally, they had a sign in the sky 2 years off the 400th anniversary. And signs have to be, you know, giving you a bit of warning of what's going on. Yeah. So literally, you got a sign in the sky saying, you know, literally on the very day of the first slave arriving, dividing America in half, north to south. So
Yeah.
I think there's too much in there to be a coincidence.
Yeah, no, definitely not a coincidence. I mean, coincidences. We're too far along the path to factor in the coincidence theory at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's basically the story that that, you know, the prophecy expires next year. Now, when I read the book a few times, it becomes clear that the 400 years was not a sentence. Yeah, it wasn't like I'm pronouncing a sentence of 400 years. You have to be. No, it's more like it took, or is taking, 400 years for the children of Israel to actually wake up, remember who they are, and then turn back to the Most High. Yeah.
Yeah.
And from the Most High's point of view, looking down on this thing that's already been written, well, yeah, it took them 400 years. Yeah, and so he tells us right there in the beginning. Yeah, so it's not a question of us being passive, us being sitting here waiting for, you know, waiting for the Most High to come, just like the Christians are sitting there waiting for Jesus to come back in his spaceship. Yeah, it's not a question that we have to passively wait. Yeah. And then when you look further into it, you see many times, time after time, it's a question of the children of Israel crying out to the Most High, and him hearing us and turning his face back to us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm putting together a project basically to synchronize the children of Israel all over the world, to actually cry out to the Most High at the same moment, exactly on the 400th anniversary. So I'm trying to get a song written. So I've already asked one person. I want to actually get a competition going so that we get the perfect song, and it has to be a perfect song because it's going to be the most important song of history to the most important audience in existence.
Yeah.
And so we want the absolute best song that we can come up with, which will double as a prayer essentially. And I hope to have this song, you know, we're going to have a competition and choose the best song, and hope to have it by August this year, so that we have a whole year to actually just get it out to all the Hebrew Israelites, so that on the day, it will just, you know, there'll be a countdown. You can actually go to the site and see the countdown already. Yeah, when that countdown expires, everybody sing at this one moment, cry out.
And what is the website's name?
It's crytothemosthigh.org.
Okay, I'll put that in the show notes after the stream is done. But just make sure that the song isn't like doesn't have a scale going from here to here, because I'm gonna butcher it. Okay, you know what I'm saying? It can't be sounded like a dying cat when I'm doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah. It's a great idea. I'm 100% behind it, and I hope other people can get on board as well. Because it's a great idea. I mean, it's essential, really. I mean, it goes back to the days when we first came over for the transatlantic slave trade, they were singing. Who were they singing to? Like, where does hallelujah come from? It should actually be hallelujah, I believe, in the Yahweh-dath. And it's basically, that comes from giving praises to the Most High. And they were doing it even when they were being punished by the Most High at the beginning of the punishment. So yeah, it's definitely an important thing. So
well, there is something special about a Hebrew Israelite's voice. You can hear me above the dogs barking here. Yeah, there's something special about the Hebrew Israelite's voice. And on my project page for the project, I give an example of why and how that works, because I use the example of the guy who actually played Darth Vader. Okay.
Right.
The guy's name is Dave Prowse. He's a big, tall guy. He used to be in England. Most people know this, or people in England of my age will know him as the Green Cross Man. Yeah. He used to do these like public information films about learning the Green Cross code for crossing the road. So it was this big geezer, Dave Prowse, dressed in a sort of superhero costume. He was the Green Cross Man, yeah. But he had a kind of Somerset accent, and he was the one who played Darth Vader. And I found a YouTube clip of Star Wars as it was originally filmed, with Dave Prowse, as Darth Vader, actually giving the dialogue.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's laughable. It's like, no, they couldn't have used that voice for Darth Vader because it had no power to it. It had no authority. It had no gravitas, no, oomph there.
Finding the right voice for Darth Vader was another challenge.
And action!
Lucas had never intended to use the on-set vocal performance of David Prowse.
Start tearing this ship apart piece by piece until you find those tapes. Find the passengers of this vessel. I want them alive!
I can still hear David Prowse's accent in the Darth Vader mask muffled, because he would do the real dialogue. He's trying to curse Carrie Fisher or something.
I
don't know what you're talking about. I'm a member of the Imperial Senate on a diplomatic...
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away.
It was hilarious and terrifying at the same time, because we didn't know what Darth sounded like. That was the first time we heard him. We're like, is that it? Is it going to be some Scottish guy, or what is this?
Prowse's voice would later be replaced with a more menacing performance, provided by classically trained stage and film actor James Earl Jones.
George had hired David Prowse, but he said he wanted a so-called darker voice, and not in terms of ethnic, but in terms of timbre. And the rumor is that he thought of Orson Welles, and then probably thought that Orson might be too recognizable. So what he ends up is picking a voice that was born in Mississippi, raised in Michigan, and was a stutterer. And that happened to be my voice.
I want to know what happened to the plans they sent you.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a member of the Imperial Senate on a diplomatic mission to Alderaan.
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away.
Yeah.
Right? We had to find a voice that had more depth to it, and they used James Earl Jones. Yeah, they could have used Morgan Freeman, but this is the point. There's something about the Hebrew Israelite voice. It's no accident that the best singers are the black ones.
Yeah.
There's something about the voice. And now I've done some talks. Again, these things are all part of my journey to this point. There's one of the talks I did was called Telepathy in the Complete Human. And I talk about how the human voice was never really meant for communication. It's just like, it's far too sophisticated just to be making these small mouth noises.
Yeah, especially in a language as restrictive as the one we're speaking in.
Indeed, yes. I'm saying that this is why it came to me that we have to sing, we have to cry out. When it says cry out in the Book of Remembrance, I actually think they mean sing, because that's what we did. I can see a lot of us singing. I don't see a lot of us actually crying out, throughout history.
Yeah,
we're always singing, So yeah, that's why I think it's an important project, and it's not again a racist thing. I know there's a lot of people like sitting there going, oh, racist, and it's not a question of the children of Israel coming along and taking over and being rulers like what we've got now. Yeah, there's a difference between leaders and rulers. Yeah, and there's a great meme that I saw that shows the difference. Of a ruler is sitting on this heavy throne thing, rock thing, on a chair, pointing the way forward, and there's all these slaves being pulling the rock. Yeah, a leader is actually at the front, pointing and pulling with all the others. Yeah, that's the difference. And right now, this earth is crying out. It's waiting for us to retake our place in the world, and as the ambassadors of the Most High. Yeah, because this 500 years of the rule of this bloodline that's ruling this earth right now. Yeah. Well, look at what's happened in these last 500 years. America used to be a forest. Yeah. America actually means of the forest. Erica means of the forest. Yeah.
Right. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it was like a complete forest and some like savannas and stuff. It was a lush green country. Yeah. Now in 500 years they've turned it into a desert. Yeah, I went from Texas all the way to California, and I took a kind of winding route all the way around, and it's all desert. It's all desert. Yeah. There were millions of buffalo that roamed the country. There's hardly any now. Yeah.
From reports of people who are there now, I remember it was even like, it wasn't that bad when I was there, but like people who are there now, they're saying it's like it's like Walgreens, and like that's what America comprises of, like it's just Walgreens and chain stores. Like nothing's happening there. As far as what I can hear from people over there.
America's winding down. That's the point. It's winding down. Yeah. And I think Trump, I can never understand why it was that Trump got elected. I actually thought the whole thing was all going to collapse. The whole, electoral process was going to collapse and go into, complete disorder because, you're between a rock and a hard place. Trump on one hot side and Clinton on the other. Where do you go?
Yeah.
But Trump was a surprise. I can never understand it. But I think Trump has a part to play in this because
definitely.
In the Old Testament, the Book of Remembrance, it talks about how when the Israelites were in captivity with the Persians, I think it was. I can't remember, the Babylonians or the Persians, I can't remember. There was a king, King Cyrus.
Persia. He was a Persian king.
Yeah. And he, the Most High put it in his heart to allow the Israelites to go back into the land and rebuild the temple. Now, why did he do that? It wasn't something he should have done as a king, but he was influenced to say, yeah, go back to your land and build your temple up and stuff. So I think I see Trump as being another King Cyrus.
Really? That's like
yes.
that's giving him like a pretty, like Cyrus was known as like a a great king. Do you know what I'm
Right,
saying?
but
So
I'm seeing it more like that. Rather than the plans that have been put in place, we know them as the King Alfred plan and Rex
Rex
84,
yeah.
which is essentially to round up, inter, and exterminate all the black people in America and Hispanics and poor whites. Instead of implementing that plan that's been there since 1984, and before that, I'm sorry. I think Trump is going to go off plan and say, you know what, get out, all of you, get out. We're going to ship you all off to Africa, and that's literally what the plan is. Yeah,
that's what the Torah, the Book of Remembrance, does say. It says that the kings of the countries will be leading you out, will be taking you away. They'll be serving you. They'll be letting you off. It's
ushering you back to your country. Yeah.
Essentially, yeah. There are some people, some Israelites. A lot of them are still in the Christian mind state, but they a lot of them, some of them have gone back to Zion already, paid for plane tickets to go back to old Israel, and it's not really how it's supposed to work.
No, wait. We got to wait for it. I said if the way it is, and this isn't only for Israelites. Yeah, this is literally for everybody. But as long as you're right with the Most High, yeah, you're following the laws, statutes, and commandments. And there's a lot of people who are actually following the commandments and probably don't even know it. Yeah, but there's a lot of people who will not steal, will not lie, will not be doing all those things. They're not involved in this satanic society. They're keeping themselves apart from it. Yeah, they don't know. And some are black, some are white, some are Chinese, whatever. Yeah. If you're right with the Most High, yeah, if you're not acting wickedly, then you've not really got anything to worry about. Yeah, you can just go out and buy your non-GMO popcorn and watch a show, because it's going to be interesting. If you're not in the mindset of fear, you're not, and you know what's going on in the world, then sit back and watch what's going on. Yeah. Look, there's a car in space.
Yeah, well, I mean, this goes back to what you said about how the truth movement. I was actually going to make a video on this. The truth movement is not really a movement to do anything. It's because we're about 30 years too late to the information. You know what I'm saying? To even attempt to change anything that's happening now. The point is to get the information across and to get as many ears that are not quite opened yet, that might be like, even if we were to stop something, we're about 30 years too late to the information to get in between the plan that the elites have, and we were never going to get into the way of the plan of the Most High anyway. So
no, because you know what, even chemtrails, before we even had the word chemtrails, I remember I think it was back in something like 98, something like 98. Oh no, sorry, it was actually, that's just after 2001. It was like 2001, 2002 that my daughter was wanted to do some kind of school project, and we came up with this thing called global dimming. Yeah, she wanted to talk about that, and it turned out to be about chemtrails, and I had no idea. We just saw this thing about air travel was making the sky dimmer because of the contrails. The contrails. And it was a real problem, and and we know it's because of the air travel, because after 9/11, when all the airplanes stopped flying, yeah, they were the best days out of the whole year, out of the whole of the following 3 years or so, yeah, because there was no planes flying, no chemtrails, and literally you had like bright sunshine for like 3 days. So yeah, we were way behind the curve because, you know, even before we knew about these things were going on, you know.
Yeah. Oh, that's
And
another thing that goes back to that. Sorry, just to interject. Yeah, it goes back to that SpaceX launch. Why were there no grid patterns in the clouds? Because we've never experienced normal clouds anywhere. So like that's just...
Well, that goes with everything that comes out on the ISS. You know, we don't see any contrails going from horizon to horizon. You know, we don't see planes flying about. Yeah, we don't see anything moving on the surface because, you know, even from the height that it's shown, right, you should still see stuff. Yeah, you should still see stuff moving around. Yeah, you know, if you can see the ISS from the ground, and you can see satellites from the ground, you know, surely you should be able to see stuff moving around, you know, from the ISS, but you don't.
That reminds me. Someone commented on one of my videos. A YouTube channel called Astronomy Live. They commented on one of my videos and they said they had they had footage from the ground of the car in space. And it's got like 1 million views, loads of like people like, yeah, this is great. I looked at the footage because it's like a big channel. I looked at the footage and it was like, it's like a light. Like, it's like how could you ever decipher that was the car? It's just a light. It's just like it could be anything. Like it could just, I don't know, but it's a joke anyway. It's not.
The whole thing's a joke, you know. But you're right. We're way behind the curve on all of this, and I'm saying that there is no way we can stop this runaway train. So I think it's my view that we have to do something drastic, and it just so happens that I think the drastic thing is coming along just when it needs to, you know, just as it's been prophesied, you know. So, you know, there you go. And I personally think this sounds very conceited and stuff. I think this is the most important project in all of history.
Yeah.
For that reason.
I don't think that's conceited. I mean, it's doing the work of the Most High, really. Like you're trying to call out to the Most High. That's not a conceited thing. That's like pretty selfless, I would say. Like it's for the Most High because it needs to happen because he needs to hear the children coming back to him. It's like there's no other way.
Yeah, as I said, I don't think we can sit back passively, you know, just doing, you know, keeping the law, statutes, and commandments and wait for somebody to come. No, we have to call out to him. And every time I describe the project, I get goosebumps thinking about it. Yeah. So yeah, I'm you know, I think this is the way we have to go. And I don't care about mentioning it out loud, you know, at this point, because, you know, what is it? It's all it is a whole bunch of people getting together and singing on a particular day.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to infiltrate. There's nothing to try and get in the way of. Yeah. Once enough people find out what this is and get behind it, yeah, then, you know, there's nothing anybody can do about it. Yeah. There's something I was going to say about. Damn, it's gone. I just had this thing I was going to say before we got kind of cut off. But I was just going to say something like that. It's not about control or anything. It's literally wresting control away from this psychopathic bloodline that has essentially, you know, ravaged this world. You know, I keep saying it, but I don't know if you can hear in the background the crickets, the cicadas, there's birds that sing at night and make sounds. There's all this life in this country, yeah. But in the Western countries, there's no life. Yeah.
Nah.
Where I live, I'm kind of in the woods. You know, there's woods around me, not kind of woods and trees, and I'm in fields and stuff. Yeah. When the sun goes down, dead quiet, not a sound. The occasional screech owl. That's it. Yeah. But you can hear a pin drop half a mile away. Yeah. Here, as soon as the sun goes down, it comes to life. You know, England is dead. Yeah, you go around through the trees, they're dying. The trees are dying. You know, we're seeing all over the world animal life is going away. You know, every month there's another die off of animal life somewhere. You know, life is going away, and just like in the end of It's a Wonderful Life, you know, it's us going back and saying, please look, we've seen how bad it is. Please let's go back to the way it was.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's going back to us being stewards of the world, not conquerors of it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. It's the only way. There needs to be basically a reset button here, because it's and I was saying this to you before we went live, actually, about this feeling of time and how time is progressing. I don't know if it's the same for anyone else listening. We got like 80 viewers here, but for me, it's like they always used to say that, oh, time's going faster because you're getting older. I'm still young. I'm like, I don't know, but but time is going like I feel as if time is running out, and it's like a feeling rather than a knowing. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't believe it's a coincidence. It could just be me, but like that's how I feel. I feel like it's ramping up, and I know for a fact just by looking around me that this system is crumbling. It's falling apart in front of everyone. They can't hold it together anymore. They're just duct taping pieces of it until the ride falls apart and nobody can get back on.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You know, we're seeing it. You know, we are seeing it crumbling around our ears. Yeah, they're doing a good job of patching it up. Yeah, as you say, they're literally going around with a polyfiller, patching it up. So. Yeah, you can be fooled into believing that you know, if you're a muggle watching television every night, yeah, you can be fooled into believing that, oh, everything's okay. You know, the politicians are saying, oh, things are getting better. You know, but we all know it's all sliding down into a pile of bull crap. Yeah.
Yeah.
This system cannot last much longer. It can't. You know, the monetary system is on its last legs, and you know, even though Bitcoin and its other versions of it is the cashless system that they've always been trying to get, it's not ready yet. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah. Have you seen these cryptocurrency, these big cryptocurrency channels all of a sudden getting sued because they were actually parts of a Ponzi scheme? It was all like, it's these Bitcoin lending services. So they were getting people to join on to cryptocurrency, pushing it heavy, pushing it. And they were making ridiculous amounts of money because it was a Ponzi scheme, because they were putting money in, they were earning the money, and there was nothing to give to the people. So people were losing tens of thousands of dollars investing in cryptocurrencies. And now these big channels, most of them have deleted all their videos. They've just disappeared overnight. It's the monetary system, they've been propping it up for years now by pretending it's still alive.
Since 2008, the crash is still happening. Yeah.
You
know, they've just been pumping unlimited amounts of money into it to keep it afloat. It's just funny, whenever I mention or have a little pop at cryptocurrencies, I get this whole set of you know, Bitcoin fanboys on my page, just giving it, oh no, it's real, it's wonderful, you know, yeah. It's just so funny that you know, there's that what was it? The Economist cover. I think it was a cover of The Economist.
1982 or something like that. It was an 80s cover. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was saying that here comes global currency, and it's this eagle on top of a coin that looks a bit like Bitcoin, and it has the year 2018 on it.
Yeah. No coincidence.
No coincidence, and all of a sudden, Bitcoin is everywhere. People are talking about it. Everyone's raving about it and stuff. In 2018, what a surprise,
Like, does that not tell you that it's easily manipulated? The fact that just at 2018, you can see a graph of the value of Bitcoin, and at the end of 2017, it goes like, it's just like, this is clearly a controlled thing to pretend it's not. And the way it was sold to people as well, that it was the perfect thing. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, so no government has control of it. It's not a banking system. Oh, right. Great. We have an out. Like, it's, they're not giving you anything for free. You know what I'm saying?
The thing is, they keep saying like, oh, yeah, this will stick it to the bankers and the banking system. They hate it. They hate Bitcoin. But you know what? Back in 1912, 1913, the bankers were against the Federal Reserve System. Yeah, the very bankers that brought it in were publicly going, no, we oppose it. We don't want this. Everyone's like, oh, it must be good because they don't like it.
Yeah.
It's like there is nothing new under the sun. Yeah, they get a method that works, and they keep using it over and over again, and it keeps and people keep falling for it. Yeah. The banks are opposing Bitcoin. No, this is against our system and stuff, but they're behind it. They're literally they've got the systems in place to try and implement it, even though I don't think it's ever going to actually work. But they're trying. They are the ones pushing it, because at the end of the day, you have to be able to take your invisible coins and go to the shops and buy a packet of chips with it or something, but can you do that? No, I don't think you can, actually. I don't think Tesco's takes Bitcoin,
No, not at this point. I've been saying this to people, man. Like, the New World Order, like, as much as it is a real plan really being enacted, it's never going to, in my opinion, it's never going to work. It's never actually going to. They can't really do it. It's a dream sold. Like, they sell to themselves, or they're sold by whoever it is they're serving, and it's never gonna happen. Like, they're never actually going to have everyone in a. They can't, because they're fighting the most high. They're fighting a power that they can't fight, that they think they can. So it's never actually going to happen. It's but it's great to instill fear in people who don't understand, and the people who are on the ride looking at them put the duct tape on, going, "Oh, it's fine. We'll do another spin." The people who are getting off and going, we'll watch from here. Like, if you still want to ride, that's up to you. But so it's a great way to make them really afraid when the ride actually does start breaking down. But the rest of us who got off some time ago are just gonna, they're just gonna be watching from the sidelines. And it's as long as you're living righteously, you'll be fine.
Yeah, on that topic of living righteously, I've been sort of let's say, not attacked, savagely mauled by Christians,
right?
Who insist that they're the ones who have got it right, and they're the ones who are going to be saved and stuff. Well, it was told to me that there's something like 2.2 billion Christians out there, but in every prophecy is saying that only a remnant are going to actually make it through this. Yeah, only a remnant are going to are going to be saved, if you want to use that word. Yeah. How is 2.2 billion people a remnant? Yeah.
I mentioned this in my Why I'm Not a Christian video, and I know I have a lot of Christian subscribers who are going to hate hearing it, but it's just they're worshiping Christ everywhere. You want to go to Japan, there are people worshiping Christ. You want to go to China, there are people worshiping Christ. Everybody has heard of Jesus Christ. If it's as simple as accept Christ and you'll be forgiven, then what's to stop the elite, the people who've been doing all this madness, just at the end, oh, Jesus, you know what I'm saying? It's not that way. It's really not. Once you dig past it, you have to understand there's a gatekeeper in everything, right? New World Order, Alex Jones, Flat Earth Society, the Israelites, the Hebrew Israelite camps. Religion is the #1 gatekeeper of all time. They all strung together on the same one truth, and that truth is the Book of Remembrance. I've got a copy of the Quran here. I've even got a Book of Mormon, which was given to me. No, I'll tell you this story actually, because I was outside work, right, and two good-looking girls from America came over and just started talking to me randomly, and I was like, there must be some kind of an agenda here, but it wasn't immediately apparent. We were just having a normal conversation. All of a sudden they pull out the book. They're like, so Jesus. I'm like, I was like, so they've got new tactics now, right? They send the two prettiest from the congregation to come to the street now. I see it. So yeah, I've read all these books, and all of these books, they cannot exist if the Book of Mormon, the Torah, the Tharwad doesn't exist. They can't exist. They lean on it. The New Testament, they can't exist if the Tharwad doesn't exist. The Quran cannot exist if the Tharwad doesn't exist. It can't. The truth is, there is a creator, of course, without a doubt. But all the rest of it is to take you away from the law, break you away from the things that are right. Like, they dismantle the things that the Most High has put in place. And and if you notice, there is no religion at all that focuses on just the Book of Remembrance, just the Old Testament. There's denominations of every other thing, but for just focusing on the Old Testament, like you would say, oh, Judaism does that. No, it doesn't. It has the Babylonian Talmud and all that craziness. Like that's a whole nother thing. All of these religions, every organized religion is exactly that. It's an organization. And you just have to move away from the corporate side and serve the one Most High, Yahweh Akkad. There is no other. That's it. That is all there is.
Yeah, you just have to look at, was it Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike, where he literally lays it all out. We've created all these religions, and we're using these world wars. We're going to collapse them one at a time, and then we're going to destroy them. Yeah, make them destroy it, and then we're going to bring in Luciferianism, because by that time everyone will be so tired and fed up that they'll just accept it. Yeah. It's a plan. Just because it's it works over generations and generations doesn't mean it's not a plan. They've been working on this, the great work they call it, for ages, for thousands of years probably. And we're just now coming to the end of it. We're seeing the Pope going around trying to unify all the religions, just as Albert Pike says. We're seeing the Muslims actually becoming a terrorist threat. We're seeing, we've always been seeing the Jews, rampaging around, being dicks, really. So it's all lining up, basically. The wars, the Third World War that Albert Pike said that they were going to foment. Well, it's sort of coming along. But I was going to say, I just remembered what I was going to say. That a lot of the stuff that they're trying to put into place hasn't worked. I do this thing when I see that there could be a coincidence at work. I have a test, like a coincidence test. It came out of when I was into the New Age stuff. When I was in my researching, and I was into the New Age.
Yeah, the
People,
chakras and
yeah, all the chakras and stuff. They're balancing on, and you know,
yeah.
People give me these kind of readings, and you know, they'd say, okay, what's your birthday? And they'd do this, and they'd give me a reading. Okay, then I would do another reading, but just make up a birthday and see if that random birthday matched me as well. Yeah, does that make sense? It's just it's like a double blind test type thing, you know?
Right.
So we're seeing all these events going on in the world, okay? And to a muggle, they might seem coincidental, but to anybody who's actually looking, you know, you can see it all lining up to, you know, leading to one event, yeah? And the one that's in my mind is London being blown up with a nuclear explosion, you know, in 2012. Yeah.
Right.
All the signs were there.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, I remember before that time. Sorry to cut you off. I remember before that time. What was it? Was it the Olympics that was going
Olympics?
on? Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. That was that. Like I remember there was a whole breakdown of the numbers and how they all. There was so many signs. I think honestly, I think that it just got too bait. It got too obvious. But I mean, that's just my idea. Yeah,
well, no, that's what I think. That's what I think because you know they need shock value for stuff. Yeah, there's no shock value if everyone's talking about it before it happens. Yeah.
Because nobody even showed up for that. Like, wasn't it? It's like they had to fill the seats with people. Like,
that's the point. Yeah, because it was going to be a big event. You know, the Olympic Games were being held in London. Yeah, the programming, the what do you call it? The predictive programming. Yeah, was all there. It was all in place. I found like about half a dozen events on television that show London being blown up by a nuclear explosion. There was something in Doctor Who. There was Spooks and Code 9. There was there was a whole bunch. There was also a story that I think the Guardian or the Daily Mail or something. For some reason, they just put out this story in parts in their newspaper. It was like a thriller type story in their newspaper. Yeah, right. And it was about London getting blown up.
Right.
And it was all, you know, it was all leading to this idea that London was going to get blown up, and you know, during the Olympics, yeah, and you know, hundreds of thousands of people were going to die in this explosion, right? Now, the coincidence test is, well, you look at another year. And see if you see the same sort of signs that would, you know, point to something. You don't see it. Does that make any sense? I look at any year apart from 2012, and you don't see any of the signs that would lead to that we would look at and go, oh, that's pointing to an event.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
All right. So it was only that year that all, you know, there was even the Titanic. Was part of it because the Titanic was actually the Olympic.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. And that was coming out in that year. That information just came out in that year. So, yeah, it was all the signs were there. It didn't happen because nobody turned up.
Yeah, there was no one there. Yeah, I remember.
Stayed away from, you know, the system was getting ready because they had, I remember they had that story, the missiles on top of blocks of flats.
Yeah,
because they were expecting an attack.
And they had boats full of like suited up military guys in the River Thames. Like they had it was a joke. I remember there was so much, and I remember telling loads of people like to stay away. This is, and then it just came to naught.
Right. So that was it. They were, I think they were lining up for that, and you know, it was like not going to be the event that they were trying to get because there was nobody going there. Yeah. The same thing with the pandemic in 2008. I think it was 2008. It happened 2008 or 2009. Literally, I remember going to work and on every table there was hand sanitizer. You know, they were trying to say that all over the world, this flu, this swine flu, was literally ravaging everywhere. So you better get your shot, you know, and literally they were priming all the muggles to go and get their vaccines. There were loads of us going, don't take the vaccines. I think there was a song saying, you know, don't take the vaccine. It was called, you know, it was loads of us shouting, and it seemed like nobody was listening to us. But yet, when it came to it, nobody took the vaccine. They ended up having to throw loads of it away, you know, millions of shots away, and which I think they took to the third world and started giving it to them instead. But literally, it didn't work. Yeah. So I think a lot of their plans, yeah, they you know, start them rolling. They put everything in place, and we are having an effect on this, and you know, we're kind of stopping it. We're sort of, you know, kicking it into touch before it even gets rolling. So,
and this is the reason why I'm concerned about, well, not concerned, but like it's come to my attention about why this SpaceX thing has happened and why it's so odd, because in my opinion, Project Bluebeam, that's kind of off the table. Because there's way too many, like if you look at the live feed, if you were in the live feed of the SpaceX live feed while it was happening and you were looking at the comments, it was like at least 40% of those comments were like fake, garbage, trash. Like I don't think that they could pull it off with enough people saying it was real at this point, because if they put anything like that out as like these aliens arriving, it just wouldn't go over with enough people.
Yeah, I don't think it will go over with people now. If you know, if there's a mile-wide craft over the White House right now, you know, it'll be like, nah, that doesn't, you know, Independence Day look better than that, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I think people, even Muggles now, are starting to look up from X Factor and go, oh, there's something going on here, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was saying this to somebody actually. I cannot imagine being a Muggle now. It's now out of my consciousness. I can't imagine what it would be like to be somebody seeing all this stuff going on today and thinking it's normal.
Well, that's exactly it. You wouldn't be seeing all these things that are going. That's it. You wouldn't be paying mind to them in any real way, like in any.
Because you think they were normal.
Yeah, it's just. Yeah, no, it's. I know what you mean. It's like, how could you even put yourself in those shoes at this point?
It's like, now beyond my ability to comprehend. Now, you know, I can't. Here's an example for this project. I was I thought I'd approach Gladys Knight. Yeah,
right.
This whole thing, yeah, because I want to try and get this song. I want to try and, you know, sort of interest a few famous people. So I went onto her webpage and went to the contact section, and the very first thing there was like a, you know, it's like a little form that you fill in. And there was an image behind the form, and it was like a picture from one of her concerts over the crowd, yeah, and all the crowd had their hands up, yeah, and the hand right in the middle of the page was this, and I was like, oh, for crying out loud, you know, it's like the signs, I can't ignore them now, yeah. They're telling me stuff, I can't ignore them.
Well, yeah? it's a language, right? It's just a sign language. When you see the symbolism and you can read the language, it's like not knowing Arabic and looking at a page of Arabic going, you know what I'm saying? Like, that means nothing to me. But then you learn the language, look at it again, and you couldn't not read it if it was in front of you in a sign. Do you know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. And talking about signs, it's a bit random, a bit off topic. But did you see the portrait done by of Obama?
Yeah.
Where he has 6 fingers.
What?
Like
I
if
didn't
you
know
look at
that.
no, if you look at the photo again, right? He has his 4 fingers there, right? And his thumb is tucked away, but then there's a finger like tucked away here. Look at it again, and it's very interesting because we know the 6 fingers, 6 toes thing. So it's and if you look at any of this guy's work who did the portrait, he does loads of like symbolic loads of symbolism and occultism, like the Star of Ishtar and his stuff, and like the all-seeing eye all over the place. So yeah, it's just interesting to look at, and also interesting that people still care that Obama is getting a portrait after like who, you know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I think he's still got a part to play in all this as well.
Definitely.
He hasn't gone away. You know, whenever there's a new president, the old president just goes away. You know, nobody hears anything. You know. But he's still around. He's still sort of popping. He's like, yeah, I'm still here, guys. You know.
Yeah.
And there is something fishy about them unveiling a portrait of them to, you know, and that coming into the mass media again. Again, these people tend to go away after they're out of office.
Yeah.
But you know, why are they pushing these portraits? Now, there's a lot more going on than we realize, and we're seeing the signs, and we're starting to understand the language, but we're still novices at it. Yeah. Obviously, there are people out there who literally speak this language fluently, so they're looking at these things and they're going, okay, it's time for this, and oh yeah, I can see what's going on. But we're still kind of grasping at it. But yeah, it's interesting. We are learning this language, and maybe that's part of why this isn't working out so well for them, because, you know, there's so many videos on YouTube, and there's so many people saying, you know, we know what this sign means, and we know what this sign means, and we know, you know, when they do that, it means it.
Look, you've done it now. You know there's going to be about 3 videos with still images of you doing every one of those signs. Dave exposed.
A transgender Illuminati vegan exposed, yeah?
No, but you are absolutely right, though. It's we're being very loud, but this is. I also have the other thing in my mind that I can't shake. That it's like, if they maybe it's beyond their control at this point. Maybe we're giving them too much credit by thinking that they do have control of everything just because they have control of the media. But at the same time, I think like certain things that we're doing, they are helping to progress by using their own outlets. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, what do you mean?
Well, with the SpaceX thing is a prime example, where it's like Elon Musk is in an interview going, well, it looks so fake. You know, we'd have better CGI than that. That to me is like, you're not even saying what you're saying. You're saying this looks fake. That's literally what you're saying out loud. So to me, it's like, what? I don't know. I feel like there's something I'm not catching in it. You know what I'm saying?
You got to remember that at the end of the day, we are still the minority. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a majority of muggles out there. And that's what that comment, or those people are who that comment was aimed at. Yeah.
Right.
Because the consciousness is rising in this way of understanding that there's truth out there, and people are starting to go, you know, look up from the TV and go, something's not right. Yeah. And that comment from Elon Musk was literally word magic for those people. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're right, because the arguments in my comments, like my 2 videos, it's also strange how if you put debunked in the title in a flat earth video, you will have all globers flocking to it. They really desperately want to see the thing put to rest for whatever reason, but the comments are parroting what he said. Like, oh yeah, it looks fake. That doesn't mean it's fake. It looks fake. That it would be better CGI if it was. It's like, yeah. But yeah, so I know what you mean. It is casting a spell.
It's word magic. It's now saying in the minds of the muggles that, you know, looks fake equals real. Looks fake equals real. Okay. And that's it. The English language is a language of deception, and it's word magic.
It's
literally
witchcraft.
word magic. Yes.
You're spelling. You're spelling. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Grammar, grimoire, same thing. And I was going to say about reading, we were saying about reading the signs. It's the same thing as in when you're looking at, the free man on the land stuff. Yeah. You get to understand the language that's being used. Yeah. So when you get a letter, for instance, yeah, there are things you can look at on that letter that means you can read it completely differently. Yeah. There's something called the four corners rule. Yeah. So that anything that's in a box in a letter, is not part of that document. Yeah. So if it's in a box, you can literally take it off and read the document without it because it's not part of the document. Yeah.
Yep.
It's in four corners. Yeah. And certain words you see, they mean something else. And when you start to pick up those rules, yeah, and look at get a bill or something that comes through your door and look at it and go, well, I can move that off the page, I can move that off the page, and what have I got left? And that word means that, and that word, and all of a sudden you're looking at something completely different. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Muggle will look at that and go, oh no, I've got to do this and I've got to do that. And somebody who's seen some of the signs will go, oh, I see what they're doing. Okay, it's just an invitation and I don't have to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's that. I was trying to make that point when I think we moved off very quickly, but yeah, it's about seeing the signs, and now I think there's a core of us who are seeing the signs and being watchmen on the wall and shouting it out to everybody, going, look what this all means. And I think that's what's thwarting their sort of minor plans. Obviously the agenda's still rolling onwards, Agenda 21 hasn't gone away, it's still kind of rolling, but it's like the engine's having trouble and a wheel's falling off and stuff, but they're still moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. As I said, exciting times. We're in the most exciting times of history. Yeah. The whole of the Book of Remembrance is about this time, talking about this time, and you can imagine that there were people going back hundreds and maybe thousands of years looking forward to this time,
Yeah.
And there's no doubt now that we are in these end days. I'm sound like some religious zealot here, but there's no doubt about it nowadays,
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, there's too many signs to ignore at this point. I mean, no, I'm definitely with you. These times are very important, and it's very important that if you are one of these people who can see what's in front of you, can actually hear and listen, that you tell your neighbor. He probably won't listen to you, like maybe not, but there are more people who are willing to hear you, even if they don't agree with you straight away. Plant that seed because it's important. You never know who will be open to these ideas because it'll surprise you.
Well, I mean, look at the things that have freed us over the last few years. Yeah, the flat Earth has freed our minds. Literally, it's freed our minds. Yeah, from the deception that's going on. Yeah, I know you're not quite into this, but urine therapy has literally freed us from dependency on water, dependency on food, dependency on their medical system. Yeah, just that one thing alone. I mean, I have no fear of chemtrails.
Yeah. I know
there's all this fear porn about all the nanobots in the chemtrails and the aluminium and stuff. I've got no fear of that because I know, because of what I'm doing, my body is ejecting that stuff as fast as it's coming in. Yeah. I've got no fear of the water shortages that they're saying, oh yeah, the water's being poisoned and there's there are going to be shortages. I've got no fear of food shortages. Yeah, there's all this again more fear porn about how everything's GMO and it's poisonous and blah 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 blah. Yeah, no fear of any of it. Yeah. So there have been so many things that have just come out recently, yeah, in this time, to take the fear out of the plans of the so-called elite. Yeah. So again, no coincidence. No coincidence.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the main sign to me that it's the end times is the amount of people who can see through it, and how it can't, knowing that the system can't last. What is there to come after it if not total collapse and rebuild? Do you mean that's the only end game here? Do you know what I'm saying? And it won't be a rebuild from these people, the bloodlines that are running the world. I mean, we've known about the 13 bloodlines for a long time. This is actually like probably the first thing that you're learning about, or you're learning of when you start learning this, is the Illuminati, which they've turned into a joke, by the way. Like everything else that gets too big, they make it mainstream, and they make it so anyone who mentions it is now an idiot. They didn't want to do that with the Illuminati at first, but then they had to, so they started putting it everywhere and making a joke out of it.
Yeah, even with the signs, and all this.
They make a mockery of it, so that as soon as you say it, the sheeple are programmed to put you down about it instantly. And it's really interesting, actually, to notice that happening. When with other topics that are just as valid, it doesn't happen. You can see the programming happening when you're speaking to someone who's like, you could talk about anything. You could talk about an opposing view on several other things, but an opposing view on something has been pushed out the front, they're gonna go, oh, you're this, you're that, you're that, or even get upset about it. That's how you know that there's programming in place. And I was even going to say, I don't know if I did mention it in my last video, or I was going to put it in my next one, but it's even we now must be programmed to some degree in programming that we don't even know that we have. Must still be there, just in the way that we interact with people, in the way that we view certain things. It must still be there. So taking people away from one thing will allow us to together realize how do it for ourselves, because while there are still people all surrounding us who are in one kind of mind state, we will never fully break away from because we're still in it. Even if we're outside of it, we're still, we have to exist within it to some degree.
The thing about the programming, now people don't appreciate how easily humans are programmed. Yeah. As I said, when I've been talking about the language research I've been doing, yeah, English is a programming language for the human brain. Yeah, that is literally what it was manufactured to be. Yeah. And again, people don't appreciate how powerful it is. But when you realize that a very clever hypnotist can actually just say a few words in a certain way and cause you to, basically cause your reality to completely change, cause you to believe that you're biting into a juicy apple when it's actually an onion. Yeah, literally it's changed your reality. For you, it's an apple. There's nothing anybody can say to change it. Yeah, it's an apple. So that's how powerful it is.
Yeah, there's that thing that I always talk to people about when I'm talking about programming. I think we've both watched this. Do you remember that Darren Brown move when they have all those business people in what they call meetings, right, about a certain topic, and they're flashing certain colors, certain music is playing, and then at the end of it, they give them all this toy gun to walk to this meeting with. They say, oh, it's just for something to play with when they're on their way there. And while they're walking down this one street that's cornered off full of actors, and they have a car drive by playing the music that was playing. They have the lights the same color going down the street, and they have like these tiny signs that they've been hypnotized with. And what was it, like 4 out of 6 of the people pull out the gun and rob an actor who's in the back with an armored truck, and they have to all stop him. I always use that as a good example of,
yes,
you know, hypnotism.
So if you missed the start of the show, this is Gresham Street in the City of London. The Bank of England is just down there. We have a fake security van, a fake security guard, and £100,000 of real money. There are 15 cameras watching this area. We have no idea what's going to happen or if anything's going to happen, but we just hope to cover it as best as we can. You have followed every aspect of the persuasion process so far. Nothing has been added or taken away. It is the linking of certain emotional states to certain triggers, piece of music, colour, certain words and so on. Our participants have no idea that they're going to be filmed or that anything has been set up, and we don't know what they're going to do. This is nothing we've been able to rehearse, and if it doesn't work, we will just show it to you not working 4 times in a row. There's really no way of knowing. This whole area has been cordoned off from the public and is being supervised by the police. Our 4 subjects have been told to expect a phone call and that they'll have to travel into the City of London for a final motivational session. Hey, how you doing? It's Darren. Hello. Just about to pick you up. There's a car just around the corner is going to come and get you, so if you can grab your stuff, and I will see you in a bit. I think the car's going to drop you just down the road, so you've got to walk up the last bit by yourself. As with every day, you know, as I say time and time again, this is about every day finding some opportunity to experience something that makes you feel great and exhilarated, yeah? So you know, make that decision to steel yourself and grab the opportunity to make all this work really, really pay off. It's just about standing in the face of security in life, isn't it, and making it do what you want it to do. Because ultimately, I suppose all of this is about you knowing that you're the one with the weapon of absolute pointed, aggressive, unquestioning power. They're also told to bring with them their toy guns that they were given at the seminar. All of our cameras and crew are well hidden. None can be seen by our 4 subjects.
Targets in zone 1. All cameras locked in position. Standby car.
Now remember that 2 weeks ago, Victoria was an ordinary businesswoman, a press officer at a motivational seminar.
Go trigger music in the car. Get it really loud, over. Security guard. Time, Mark, take your time. Time, keep it.
Can I help you?
I need to get on the floor.
Don't shoot. Don't shoot.
On the floor.
In that, it was called The Heist by Darren Brown, you know. And as you say, they were primed with certain colours, certain phrases, certain certain music, you know. There was also a poster, because he would say something like, just do it, yeah. And there was a poster on, as they were walking down the road that said, just do it, you know. And they were primed with certain words and certain music and all that. And when the triggers came, they acted without thinking, without being able to stop themselves. You know, some of them acted out. The thing about Darren Brown is that he makes it seem like it is a trick. Yeah, he's very good at this, making it seem like it's actually just a trick. It's nothing important. It's just showmanship and a trick. Because what he does, and you can tell this because he's a really bad actor. Yeah. Next time you see Darren Brown doing his stuff, he will always put in a bit where it doesn't work. Yeah, he'll always have one or two people it doesn't quite work with, and then you see him acting like, oh, yeah, well, it didn't work. You know, he just acts, and he's really bad at it. Yeah,
right.
If he wanted to, he would do it 100% of the time. He always puts in the mistakes so that it seems like he's just doing a trick, and it's it's only just a party trick. Don't worry about it. Yeah, but what he's doing is real. Yeah, he's literally programming people's minds, and they're on the right trigger, they'll go off and act in a certain way, and this is happening all the time. Yeah, I get very suspicious of very, very crappy films.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you. I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You go to a film. Look, they know how to make a good film.
Mm-hmm.
They've been doing it for over 100 years. They know what makes a good film. They know what how to manipulate people's emotions so that they walk out of that cinema going, "That was a great film. I really enjoyed that." Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've been to and this especially lately, people tell me go watch this film, and I download it, and I think I get to the end of it, and I'm like, what did I just watch? Mm-hmm. Yeah, they make these crappy films, but they put stuff in it, and I think it's there to trigger us, to set us up for, I don't know, well, not set everybody, but set the muggles up, so that when some trigger comes, they'll act in a certain way. Yeah, I don't know. This is just my spidey sense going off when I watch a crappy film these days. What are they really trying to do to me while I'm watching this film?
I know, I'm with you totally. I remember there was that series that you told me about that was meant to be a comedy. It was like a sci-fi comedy, and this was when it clicked to me, because I was like, this is totally not funny. This would not be funny to people who, you mean to any, like, it's not really fun. They know how to make something funny and not garbage, and yet it was just like a vessel for propaganda. Like for nonsense to be pushed through. They weren't trying to be funny. They weren't trying to take you away from what they wanted you to see. But you know what I'm saying? So yeah, no, I'm with you on that 100%.
Yeah, that was the Orville.
Yeah, that was the one.
I stopped downloading it because it was just so transparent that it's not worth even trying to break it down or anything. So, but you're right. There's so much going on. There's so much happening. It's I keep saying it's an exciting time to be alive, and I've got my popcorn ready.
100%. So have I. We'll wind this down. I will chuck your website links to the crytothemosthigh.org and your new website, right? You've just launched your own personal website.
Yeah, my website was under construction for quite some time now, because I just haven't had time to really get into it, and still there's some huge gaps in it, because I'm trying to put as much information about all the stuff that I've researched and all the information that I've gathered into one place. And it just takes lots of time to write it all. So when you go there, please forgive it. There's there's lots of bits where it's like more to come. I'll get there eventually. So check back, and I might sort of do something where you can see if goes to the page and you see that I've updated stuff. So I might actually put something on there like that. But yeah, it's www.allegedlydave.com.
Awesome. That's great. So yeah, thank you guys for joining us. We've had like over 100 viewers while we were on. So thank you guys for listening. I'm sure I'll be back for with another live stream. And you need to put out a new video on the language. That's what you need to do. Okay.
Yes, I know. You keep bullying me. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, I will do.
All right. Okay. That's Red Flag Media. I am out.